What's up everyone, and welcome to another video. Right now we are still in Sumba Island and we just had the most magical 6 days of traveling here. Sumba Island is absolutely amazing. The place is very remote and that is why I know there are so many questions around traveling in Sumba, and in this video we are simply going to tell our whole trip. We're going to say how our itinerary was, we're going to explain everything, how expensive it was, our experiences, basically our whole entire trip. So if you are traveling to Sumba, you have to check out this video because it is packed with valuable information. Okay, so first things first, the flight company. Which company did we flew with? How expensive was it? How was our flight experience? So
we booked with Lion Air, and it was an extension of that company called Wings Air. So it's a very, very small flight company. I would say there's maybe like 40 people on one flight.
Yeah,
and it was packed.
True.
Yeah, booking the flights was pretty easy, but that's because we had help. The tickets were roughly about 1.8 million per person, and that includes flight there and back.
Yeah.
Which wasn't too bad, but I'd say it's maybe more on the expensive side.
It's more on the expensive side, I think, because 1.8 million is around 120 euros and it's only an hour flying. So you fly from Denpasar, Bali to Tambulaka in Sumba, which is, it's the west part of the island. For an hour flying, I think it's a bit more on the expensive side, but that is because Sumba is pretty remote.
Yeah, but then depending on which side of Sumba you're deciding to travel, there is another airport that you can fly into, which would be more on the east side. I believe the place is called Wai Ngapu.
Yeah, Wai Ngapu, that's the other airport, and they have direct flights to Denpasar as well. So you can choose which airport you want. It's either in Tambulaka or Wai Ngapu. All right, and then I think the question that we all have is the itinerary. What did we do in Sumba? I can tell you, we had the most epic trip ever. Our trip was simply insane. If you haven't seen any of my Sumba videos, make sure to check them out here because they are epic. We saw so many beautiful things. We described Sumba as wildly remote, and we have our full itinerary right here.
Yeah, so day one when we arrived, we had a driver come and pick us up from the Tambulaka airport and drop us off at the end of the night at Ella Hotel, and then in between that we went to the Gratengahu Village as well as the Walakiri Lagoon, which was amazing.
Epic, yeah. Gratengahu Village is a really traditional, beautiful village. It was amazing to spend time here, but I do have to say you have to be careful because they will ask you if you want to see a traditional house. They will ask you if you want to take a picture with a horse or something. We said yes to everything because we thought, why not? But they will charge you for all the activities, which is fine. I understand it, that the people obviously need money for it as well, but they don't tell you up front. So that is definitely a really important tip, that if you do something there, be prepared to pay for everything. And then the Walakiri Lagoon was simply stunning. It's literally crystal clear blue water. There are lots of kids playing in the water, and I think the entrance fee was only 25k?
Yeah, it was 25k each to enter.
Yeah.
And then there's also a little place where you can actually like jump off into the water.
Yeah.
But be careful because there is some like sharp rocks and coral reefs at the bottom, but it is pretty it's pretty deep, so you'll be fine.
But those two activities were definitely really cool and 100% worth it. And then we stayed that night in Ella Hotel, which we are in right now actually. This hotel is located in Tambulaka, which is still the west side of Sumba, and spending one night here is roughly 450k. You can choose which type of room you want. We have, I think, the second, so you have one room is 400k, but it doesn't have hot water. We have the other option, which is 450k, and we luckily have hot water. Then after we spent the night at Ella Hotel, we went to the Waikachura rice fields. Sorry, it's difficult to pronounce. These rice fields, I think, were one of my favorites, definitely in the top 3, because there are literally endless rice fields. It is so stunning. I think it was a pretty long drive, maybe an hour.
Yeah, it was about an hour drive. I think like majority of the spots were about an hour and a half apart.
Yeah. So there's always an hour or 1.5 hours in between spots. But these rice fields were definitely worth it, because in the middle of the rice fields there is literally a waterfall with a huge tree, and it feels like you're in a fairy tale land. It's just
literally,
paradise.
Yeah.
You have to hike there. I think it's maybe like 20 minutes. It's just through the rice fields, but make sure your shoes are getting very, very muddy. So don't wear your white sneakers there.
Yeah, no, don't. Honestly though, like I would say just go barefoot, because then that way the mud is not sticking to you, and you could just kind of trek along. It's a pretty like clear path if you're not like doing extensive hiking.
Yeah.
Just like a walk through the rice fields.
Exactly. Yeah. And then after those rice fields, I think was again an hour, 1.5 hour driving, we went to Popu Waterfall. Oh my God. Arriving there was literal heaven. Yeah. It's so stunning. But before we go into the waterfall, we have to tell you guys the entrance was
150k.
150k, guys. That's €9. And for locals, the entrance was 5k. So that is a huge difference, because 150k is €9, 5k is 30 cents. So we felt a little bit shitty after, because we had to pay a lot. It's what, 350k in total?
Yeah, because it was an extra 50k for the guide to take us down. So take us for a walk down to the waterfall.
Exactly, and we couldn't say no, because the guide, we needed to have a guide, otherwise we could not enter the waterfall. So that was a bit of a weird feeling, but once we arrived at the waterfall, we forgot everything, because literally the waterfall was true paradise. I don't even have words for it, how stunning this waterfall is. It's such a huge waterfall.
It was massive. It was just magic. And I don't think I've ever seen a waterfall like that in Bali.
Same.
Yeah, this was like very raw and just wildly untouched, and like
wildly untouched.
Yeah,
I love it. That's the perfect way to describe this waterfall. And I think it was like 20 minutes hiking down. I would wear proper shoes, I would have to say. Don't wear your flip-flops, because it's a little bit rocky, and it is also very slippery at the waterfall. And if I can suggest something, is to bring a phone case, because literally we made beautiful content with the Kali case that I have. If you don't know what that is, check them out in the description below, because we made beautiful content there. Yeah. The waterfall is very strong. There's lots of water coming off the waterfall, and it is definitely really important to have a good case for your phone, because otherwise it can get simply super wet. And it's also important that your phone floats when it falls, because I dropped my phone a few times, but luckily with the Kali case it stayed afloat above water, so that's definitely good. But yeah, this waterfall,
it was just a lot of fun, because like you can go swimming in there. There's so many different spots where you could take pictures, and especially like if you get a chance to hop into the water, and if you have like the proper case, you can capture some really beautiful shots that like are very unique as well. You don't get to see them all the time.
Yeah.
And like the sun rays, just everything was just absolutely perfect.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we actually had lunch when we were there.
True.
So we recommend just usually, like if you go with a tour guide, they will recommend bringing food, and so you can sit down and eat lunch there in a shady spot. It's just beautiful. Yeah,
it's epic. That place was definitely good. Then we stayed again. I think we had to drive back to Ella Hotel again, which was still in West Sumba, and we stayed again at the same hotel. And then at day 3, we had to check out of Ella Hotel, and we went to Wei Maneba Lagoon, and it was beautiful.
It has a lot of potential.
A lot of potential, but we didn't go into the water because it was so undiscovered and so remote that we were like, I don't know what's in the water here. I don't want to go in. So that's, I think, the only place that we didn't swim, but it is definitely, it was also a cool experience to just drive through fields where felt like no one has ever been before. Obviously people have been there, but it was definitely really cool. And then we had to drive a very long way to Wai Marang Hill. I think it was a 3 or 4 hour drive, because we crossed the island from west to east Sumba. And the thing is, we actually crossed a local market. My suggestion is that if you are close to Tambulaka, which we are right now, there is a huge local market here, and it is definitely worth it to check out for yourself, because I think we both had a little bit of a cultural shock. Like, there was so much going on. There were people everywhere. You could see the local experiences. You could see how they're trading food and the local life. But yeah, so we crossed the local market and then we went to Wai Hill, which was a 3 or 4 hour drive, which is definitely a long drive. So be prepared, maybe grab your headphones or something, that you have something to do in the car, because it can be maybe a little bit boring. But Wai Hill is so stunning again. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But this is, was there an entrance fee?
There was an entrance fee of like 5K, I think.
It was really cheap.
Yeah.
I think it was below €5 entrance fee. Like there, it wasn't much.
I think we paid like 15K.
Something like that,
yeah,
right?
That includes like car parking, and for the 2 of us, it was like 15K.
Yeah, it was really cheap. And then you walk maybe like 2 or 3 minutes up the stairs, and you arrive at this beautiful viewpoint of the Wai Hills.
Yeah.
And there are also a lot of people with horses. You can not rent a horse, but you can. How would you describe it?
I think you rent a horse.
Yeah.
You can there's a big horse that you can ride. You can ride the small ones as well.
Yeah.
Or we can also walk them, and it's 100K.
100K,
for us.
€6. So it's 100K per person to rent the horse. I had the big one because obviously I'm really tall, so I just grabbed the biggest horse I could find, which was a beautiful horse, by the way. It was an albino horse. I absolutely loved it. And then with the horse you can ride a little bit and you can take some beautiful pictures, photos, drone videos, whatever you want, and just enjoy the view. And this spot is also a sunset spot.
Yeah.
So if I can give a really good tip, is to come, I think around 3 or 4, because then there was no one there. And then I think around 5 it was pretty busy.
Yeah, it was packed with everybody.
Yeah.
And you can see like there's some people coming in and doing like couple shoots, wedding shoots. It was just absolutely stunning. And I think the scenery is also like anything else that we saw anywhere else. Just because like the molehills, the hills themselves, and the horizons were just very different, because there wasn't like palm trees or tall trees or anything like that. It was just very
wilderness.
Yeah, just like colorful.
So cool.
And then all you saw was like sky. Yeah, so it was
epic.
Yeah.
Epic again.
It was so epic. Yeah, you guys gotta check out the vlog from that day and see some of the footage that we captured. It was
I'll put the vlog here again because that day was stunning.
Yeah.
And then after Wai Hills we went to Padadita Beach Hotel. I hope I pronounced it right. I actually loved this hotel.
Yeah,
I think
me too.
the rooms were beautiful. Obviously it's next to the beach. They had good food options. I loved it. And the rooms were 400K a night. So that is between 25 and 30 euros, something like that a night. So that's a reasonable price.
I would say the standard of the second hotel, the Padadita Hotel. Padadita Hotel was like way higher than the one in Tambalaka, and the Tambalaka was actually a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
It was like 50K more expensive, but I think just like the standard and the quality was like
a huge difference.
Huge difference.
For sure, yeah, because the breakfast at Padadita Hotel,
really good.
Bagus. Yeah. So good. So then we spent the night at Padadita Hotel and we went to Tongadu Waterfall. So that is the first stop that we had. And I think Tongadu Waterfall, so the thing that we did a couple of times, we did it this day as well, we grabbed a lunchbox before we go, because a lot of the places are so remote, there are no rooms there. So we had to grab a lunchbox, take it with us. And the drive to Tongadu Waterfall was, I think, one of my favorite drives in a very long time. Simply stunning. It's untouched by humanity, it looks like. Like there's no cities, no buildings. You barely see humans on the road. The only thing that you see are cows, buffaloes, a lost dog maybe, chickens.
Maybe just like kid maybe walking,
that's
it.
It's insane, like it is so beautiful. And then we arrived at the waterfall, which was, I think, between €3 and €6 was the entrance fee. But this waterfall is quite hidden again. So you need to take an ojek, I believe people call it, which is 50K again. So that's €3. The ojeks are standing at the entrance of the waterfall, so you don't have to search them. It's literally next to the parking spot of the cars. And they take you through, again, the most amazing scenery you'll ever seen, to the entrance of the real waterfall, and then it's maybe 10 minutes hiking down.
Yeah, so I think it was just the ojek that we paid for, and that was like included in the entrance fee.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we literally paid 100K each.
Yeah, then it's like 50K entrance fee.
Yeah.
So it's 50K entrance fee, 50K ojek.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's around €6 to enter, and this waterfall, I'm lost for words because it was again so beautiful, right?
Yeah, and there was literally probably like 6 spots to this waterfall that you can hang out at, and they were all so different, and it was just, I felt like I was in Narnia.
Yeah,
somewhere
so beautiful,
somewhere that's not on this planet Earth.
Yeah, untouched. Like, it was so amazing. Like, the water was really blue. It was a huge waterfall. It wasn't a really high one, but they had different levels and you could swim in each level as well. There is a big current, so you have to be careful. Yeah. But there's like, you can really discover this waterfall. You can go everywhere. We went all the way back because there were a few people when we arrived there. I would have to say, like, this was the first waterfall which we actually had to share with some people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There was quite a few people at one point. People were actually even jumping off of the main part of the waterfall into the water, which probably wouldn't recommend if you're like scared or don't know how to do it.
Exactly.
We just saw some of the locals do it. And then some of the further parts, if you wanted to explore further, just be mindful because they are pretty slippery. And
yeah, it is slippery and you don't want to be caught in the current, because I did one time. It was like I was going in circles and it was difficult to get out. So definitely be careful, and also again wear proper shoes with a lot of grip. And then after the waterfall we drove by Savannah Pura Canberra, which is literally on the way, so it's like a beautiful savanna area.
Yeah, we just drove through the savanna area, but while we were driving through there was people parked up top and they were just taking photos, and basically it's just like a beautiful scene of like these fields, and it's the backdrop is just like sky and ocean, so it's really beautiful to like capture a photo. But I think for us, we were kind of in a time crunch and we're like, let's go to this waterfall.
Yeah, exactly. So basically that day we only did the Tongadu Waterfall, which is already a huge experience itself because it takes a long time to get there. And then we stayed again at the same hotel. And then on day 5, we went to Wai Marang Waterfall, which was, I think, an hour driving again. The entrance fee was 50k because I ended up paying the guy 100k, but because we also had a guide. Here you also need to have a guide again. You're not allowed to go down there by yourself. And I would say the hike down is pretty easy. The hike up was, for me, pretty difficult because it is in the sun, like there's no shade. You have to hike up pretty high, it's like big steps, and it's in the sun. So definitely bring sunscreen and bring decent shoes, I would have to say. But this waterfall, it felt like a hidden gem again because it is surrounded by rocks. It is a round pool where you can basically swim in. It's not too deep, so you can't jump. But I would say this waterfall is only discovered in 2015, so it's definitely a hidden gem. I keep repeating myself, but it's
hidden gem. Yeah, but I think it was kind of discovered in the family, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like the son who found it.
And then we went to Walakiri Beach, which is a well-known beach in Sumba because during sunset there's low tide and you have the beautiful trees standing in the water. Unfortunately, we didn't make it for sunset because we had a tight schedule, but this beach, oh my god, it's definitely one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen. The water is crystal clear blue water, and you can just sit there, eat something, have a coconut, swim in the ocean.
Yeah, and it's just like sandy bottoms. It's beautiful. And if you do want to make it for the tree, just check the tides and make sure you go out low tide.
Yeah, exactly. The sunset there is amazing. There were local families who were actually living on the beach, and it is such a beautiful spot. I would definitely recommend that you can spend there maybe 2 or 3 hours. There are no sunbeds or anything. It's more like swimming, maybe sitting on the beach for a little bit and eating something, and that's it. And there was actually no entrance fee.
No, it was you just come in and like hang out.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that we had a very long drive, so we had to drive again 3 or 4 hours back to East Sumba, back to Ella Hotel, which we are staying in right now, and that's where we spent the night again. And then our last day, which was day 6 of the trip, we met up with Jackie, who is the owner of My Sumba, and actually that is the whole organization who arranged our entire trip. So they were in charge of the itinerary, of the car, of the driver, of the guide. They helped us with everything, and I would 100% recommend them because Jackie is a local here on the island. He knows literally all the best spots, and he made it happen that we saw the most beautiful spots on the entire island. So I would definitely recommend to book a tour with him. And then we rented our own bike in the morning because our tour with the car ended. It was only for 5 days, and we had added 2 days extra on the island where we just wanted to explore ourselves. So we rented an NMAX motorbike, which is 250k per day for one bike. So we rented it for 2 days, which is 500k in total, and that is around 30 euros. If you want to rent a car with a driver, it is 700k a day, which was for us a bit on the expensive side, and we just wanted the freedom of our own bike. So that's what we did. And then in the morning, the bike got dropped off perfectly in time, I have to say. And we had a meeting point with Jackie, which was around 1.5 hours of driving. And we went to
Gratengahu Waterfall.
Gratengahu Waterfall. Oh my God, I still am in love with this waterfall, but this was a trip itself. Like, this is not made for everyone, I have to say. If you don't like roughing it, if you don't like wilderness, if you don't like going out of your comfort zone, don't go to this waterfall. Because as we told before, we visited La Popu Waterfall, but this one, the Gratengahu Waterfall, is even more higher than La Popu. That is where the water of La Popu is coming from. So basically we met up with Jackie, and then it was half an hour with the bike going through gravel roads into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it was fully like off-roading roads. So like if you're not comfortable on your bike, don't go. Take a car, have somebody take you. Be sure to have a bike or have somebody take you there. Because it's quite intense and it's quite a long drive as well. And another thing that I'll mention is bring proper shoes, like non-negotiable. Proper shoes, socks, long pants.
Yes.
It's really hot and humid, but you're not going to regret it because there is leeches.
There are so many leeches. It's insane, literally. So make sure to have either local people joining you with the bike, because it is so difficult to find your way. Google Maps will not be able to tell you because it's simply, there's so many small roads. So either go with a guide or ask people that live here, because you can't go there by yourself, I would say. Then make sure it's 150k entrance, which is a lot. So make sure again that you have local people going with you, to make sure that they're not charging you much, because it's a very remote area, and unfortunately they really wanted to see money when we entered, because not many people actually go there. So when people go there, they want to charge a lot. Have a guide going with you.
I think this is the first time where I was like, I want to have a guide during this hike.
Yes, exactly. You need to have someone going with you. But once you arrive at this waterfall, it's the king of all kings of waterfalls.
Fully, yeah. This was like the king of all waterfalls. There's not much place where you can really stand or put your stuff down, because it was really wet, really muddy. Don't wear your white sneakers, but like wear proper hiking shoes.
I wear my white shorts. They're ruined for life. It's so muddy. At a certain point, we were both standing somewhere and we couldn't even stand straight because it's so slippery. Only rocks. We couldn't even put our stuff down because there was mud everywhere. So going to this waterfall is definitely very uncomfortable. It's out of your comfort zone, but man, how was it worth it? It was insane. I quickly want to show you guys how beautiful this waterfall was. So like I said, it's stunning, it's gorgeous, it's worth it. If you have an itinerary, this is the only thing that you can do in that day. You will be exhausted after. So don't plan anything else on a day where you visit this waterfall.
Yeah, bring lots of water, bring lunch, just like have everything that you need. Bring band-aids, have like a first aid kit. Yeah. You know, just fully be prepared for this because this is an adventure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and make sure you have a rain jacket just in case it rains. It did rain a little bit when we were there. Yeah. And yeah, maybe even just bring a change of clothes for the walk back. 100%, yeah, for sure. Also bring food because there's nothing on the way there. There's nothing down there, so we had to bring our own lunch. And I think 2 outfits would definitely be recommended because you get so dirty. It's insane. Yeah.
So after this amazing waterfall, we went back to Ella Hotel and we had a good night of sleep. And I think right now it is time to explain the weather, what kind of clothes you should bring, and what kind of food you can expect. What kind of food can they expect?
So a lot of it is just local food. Lots of rice, it's not like the regular nasi gorengs. I think it was more like tofu, tempeh. We saw a beef rundown one time. Yeah, there's a lot of fish, chicken, beef.
There's a lot of meat if you are vegetarian. If you are vegetarian or vegan, it is pretty difficult. Well, Mash is obviously vegan. I don't like to eat meat on trips like this, so it was difficult to find food, but they have vegetables. So they have tempeh, tofu and vegetables at stands, and normally your tour guide will know where to drop you off. And I think the prices differ a lot, so it's definitely recommended to eat at very local spots. We had one time a full meal for 15K, which is like 90 cents.
Yeah, which was great.
Yeah,
because like there's some rooms and places that we went to that charged us 170K for 3 people, which was insane.
Exactly, and I would just say ask your tour guide to bring you to the local spots, not the spots that they bring you normally, because there's a huge difference in prices. And when we stopped at the small local places, the food was even better and super cheap. Yeah. So just expect to have only local food. There's no iced cappuccinos, there's no pasta, there's no sandwiches. It's just local food here. And then for clothes, what to bring, I would say definitely bring adventurous clothes because you will need it. It can be very sunny here, so bring also a lot of sunscreen, mosquito repellent and insect repellent is super important. Bring a hat, especially because you go hiking a lot of the times. Bring
a towel.
A towel, super important, a towel. Even a sarong, like it is such a nice thing to have. And a waterproof phone case. I didn't want this trip without because there's so many waterfalls here. And if you want to grab some footage, it's definitely worth it to have a phone case. Have proper hiking shoes, which is definitely important. Don't bring small shoes that can be slippery. You need to have decent adventure sandals, how we like to call it, which is definitely a must.
And just have like change of clothes for every day. Have comfortable clothes, and don't bring clothes that you don't want to get ruined, because like a lot of this is going to be like you're going to get dirty, you're going to get muddy, you're going to get sweaty, and you're going to get hot. And like I think the biggest thing for both of us is just to like be comfortable.
Exactly. So every day you will need 2 outfits, and every day I brought with me a sarong and a towel because most of the time you'll get wet because of the waterfalls and the lagoons.
Yeah, and bring your swimsuit.
Swimsuit, 100% super important. And then because we had our tour with My Sumba, they arranged the whole trip for us, which was a collaboration actually. But if you are interested in their tours, I'm just gonna put the whole link in my description down below so you can check all their packages out, because they have so many different types of packages.
Yeah, these guys will take you everywhere.
Yeah, so like we said, My Sumba will literally take you around the whole island, and you can customize the trip as well. So they had 4 spots a day for us, but we only did 2 because obviously we create content, so we need a bit more time at every spot. And then the last tips that I want to give you guys is always have cash with you. I think I had around 4 million Indonesian rupiah cash with me, which is around 250 euros, something like that I think, because it's really difficult to get cash here on the island. The people here speak barely English, so that's why I recommend to have a guide and also have a car, because there's also in a lot of places on the island there's no cell phone service. So if I would be driving on a bike and I would get lost, you can't reroute the Google Maps because there's literally no service. So I think because it's such a wildly remote island, have a car and have a driver, it's definitely the best option.
Yeah, because there's also just a lot of driving, like apart from everything else, the distances between places are quite long, and so it can, and then that's when you also endure a lot of different weather changes and whatnot. So
100%.
Just be comfortable and enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Alright guys, so I really hope you found this video informative. We tried to cover everything that we know about Sumba and about our trip. So it was a wild adventure. I can't wait to be back in Sumba, and when I come back I'm definitely going to go again with My Sumba. And guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, I'll see you on my next adventure. Bye!